And if you can have a goal, and that's one of the first things that I say, right? What's your goal? Because
Hmm.
if you're not working towards something, then no, you're not going to see the benefit in letting your money do its thing, right? But if
Right.
you have a goal, you want that new bike, or my daughter is about to turn 16, and her goal is a car, right? So
Yeah.
once when you have a goal, then it makes it a little bit easier, not all the time, but it usually
Right.
makes it a little bit easier to forego the instant gratification because you
Right.
say, this is what I'm planning for. So even if your goal is to go to college debt free, right?
Right.
Then, okay, then investing in the stock market at, 10, 11, 12, 13, you want to do it because you have the goal in 4, 5, 6 years. That's when I'm going to need to, you know, be seeing whatever dividends or what have you.
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources. Parents and young people becoming bosses. CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs. Conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast. Malik's Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
All right. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Thank you for joining another episode of the Malik's First Job Podcast, where we speak about leadership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy for parents and teens. Today, we have a great guest that focuses on youth entrepreneurship, right? Something that's near and dear to my heart. We have Miss Tara Bateman from from Teens Biz Talk, right? Now, Tara, I'm gonna read her bio for you. Tara Bateman, also known as Professor B, is probably one of the most inspiring educators you'll ever meet. She provides support and education for youth entrepreneurs through her short business basic videos, online business courses, digital guides and books, and also through her Teens Biz Talk podcast. It's a podcast for current and aspiring teen entrepreneurs who want to develop and build their businesses professionally and also their personal skills. She is devoted to God, her family, and continuous betterment for herself. Now, word on the street is that she loves karaoke, bingo, and corny jokes. So please help me welcome Miss Tara Bateman to the Malik's First Job podcast. How you doing today?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we first met a couple years ago at Invest Fest down in Atlanta,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the whole Earn Your Leisure movement and Invest Fest and everything else like that?
Yes. So, yes, and yes. And I
Okay.
absolutely love what they're doing. It is very much needed. I appreciate that they share information and knowledge
Hmm.
in very, very practical ways.
Yes.
Very, very practical ways. And they speak the language of of a lot of young people, some
Right.
older people also. But they really present it in such a way to make the financial information accessible.
Exactly, and I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. And I think what I also like about the event itself as well is that you get to connect and network with so many people from across the country. Like it's nothing like being in a room full of like-minded people that are
Yes.
all looking to help each other, educate themselves, and do what they can to create wealth for
Yes.
themselves and their families. So,
Definitely.
right.
Yes. That was something that was very very, what's the word, inspiring to
Hmm.
see that many people. I think they said they had like 12,000 people per se.
Yes,
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 12,000 people, and lined up at the door for
right,
different events, like hungry for it, like this is what I came for. I'm going to get what it is. So
right.
that was just, yeah, that was a really inspiring.
Yes, yes, yes. I remember going the first year, and then this year or last year,
Mhm.
when I went, I just wanted to bring the kids so that bring my kids
Mhm.
so they can kind of see it themselves because it's
Yes.
only but so much you can describe to someone They just have to, just feel the energy,
Right.
and just be inspired by that.
Definitely.
Yes, yes, yes. So, what got you started on your pursuit of entrepreneurship and trying to educate young people within that same path?
Mhm. So entrepreneurship, I've done it for a while now.
Okay,
Back in the day, I sold handbags and jewelry.
okay,
You know,
okay.
kind of did that type of thing. I had a
Right.
mobile manicure business when I was
Okay,
living in Philadelphia there. That was fun. So I've always been a type of think outside the box type of
okay.
person. And so just as I continued on and, I went the traditional route of getting a college degree, right? Because
Mhm.
that's what my parents said you needed to do, right? That was the
Right,
way to go. And then
right.
I actually continued on and got my master's degree. And I got an MBA with a concentration in finance
Okay,
because I wanted to know, when you're in a business situation and someone says, "Oh, that's not in the budget. That's not in the budget." Well, I wanted to know what was going on with this budget and
right,
where was the money and what was everybody doing with it. So I chose finance as my concentration so I could understand that money aspect. And
okay,
also just understand the language of business, right? Because business in and of itself is its own language.
yes,
And learn a little bit more about the money game, right? And how people play it and how some people are up here, some people are down here.
right.
So that was that. And that led me to teaching. So I'm a professor at a local university here.
Okay,
And over my years of teaching, a little over a decade now, what I've learned is college is not for everyone, but the education is.
right,
That's the difference. And so the sooner that folks can get the education, the better chance they have to create the type of life that they desire, right? The better chance they have to not get stuck in, what we call the rat race.
right,
They can make different decisions because they have different information and different knowledge. And so
right,
that's the part that drove me towards wanting to focus on the teenagers, right? At this point, usually around that 12 or 13 is when they start either earning money from allowance or part-time job or, grandparents are giving them Christmas money, birthday money, that type of thing. So I just
right,
felt like that was a good place to get them started early. Okay, so you got $50 for your birthday. And
right.
yes, there might be a video game that you want. Let's talk it through, right?
Hmm.
Maybe instead of the whole 50 towards the video game, let's put $20 in the bank, right?
Right,
$30, go to GameStop, get a used game, So just get started with that mindset
right,
of what is money and how can they best use it.
right, right. Now, I know, like you mentioned earlier, I guess all these different terms and concepts.
Mhm.
Like, what's the best way to try to translate these sometimes complex ideas to in a way that, like, I guess, translate in a way that young people can understand?
Great question. So what I like to do first is figure out what a particular person likes, right?
Okay.
So if a young person likes, let's say they like baseball,
Hmm.
right? Then I'm trying to think of business terms and how I can relate them to the game of baseball.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, so you've got baseball and maybe everybody's on the team, but not everybody gets up to bat, right? It's kind of like having money in the bank just sitting there, right?
Hmm.
There's money there, but is it really doing anything?
Right.
Not really. But then you start having the players that go up to bat. That's when you start taking money and actually doing something with it. So then you're investing it in stocks, right? Or you are starting a business, right? But that's when you're taking it from the bench, right?
Hmm.
When it's just sitting in the savings account, it's just like players on the bench. And now you're like, all right, up to bat. Let's see what you can do.
Right.
And
Right.
even in the
Right.
game of baseball, right? Once you're up to bat, you don't always hit a home run.
True.
And that's okay. What's the key? That you're in the game. And the same thing with money, right? You might
Right.
say, oh, I'm going to invest it in this stock, and the stock might only go up $1. Okay, well, don't just take all your money out. It didn't work,
Right.
right? You want to stay in the game. Okay, so let's reassess and what can we do better next time?
Right, right. It's funny. Yesterday, I was speaking to a group of high school kids, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the penny compounding versus the $1 million
Yes,
choice.
I love it.
Yes, and at first a lot of the kids were saying, "Well, I'll take the $1 million," and
Mhm.
then one kid, one student said that he chose the penny because he feels like over a period of time it may equal more than the $1 million.
Mhm.
And other kids looked at him like, "You crazy? That's stupid." But then after I kind of revealed it to them, they was like, "Wow, I didn't realize that." And I think something I thought about after that, after I did it, is that because initially when you look at that chart, the first couple of days, the penny goes from 1 cent to 2 cent to four. You don't really see much progress.
Right.
But then as time progresses, you get to around day 22, 23. That's when you start seeing the larger numbers. And it made me think about people, like, let's say someone that's on a weight loss journey, or perhaps they're going to the gym to work out. People may go to the gym for the first couple of days and then start flexing in front of the mirror and
Mhm.
not see any progress. But
Right.
as long as you remain consistent and disciplined and stay the path or stay the course, eventually you'll see that you start seeing some results and get
Mhm.
motivated. So it
Right.
just made me think about the same parallel between someone going to the gym, working out, trying to get in shape, in the same way trying to invest money,
Mhm.
right? So like I told him, you can't put your money in the stock market today and think next week you'll be rich. You
Right.
got to spend at least 5 to 10 years to see some type of progress. And a lot of
Mhm.
times, young people today they want immediate gratification. They want to see things
Mhm.
happening now, and they
Yeah,
don't have the patience. But investing and wealth building
mhm.
takes a lot of patience.
It does. It does.
Yes.
And something that I found is even just having that conversation with
Right.
young people, right? So instant gratification, it's a very real thing, right?
Right.
And if you can have a goal, and that's one of the first things that I say, right? What's your goal? Because if
Hmm.
you're not working towards something, then no, you're not going to see the benefit in letting your money do its thing, right? But if
Right.
you have a goal, you want that new bike, or my daughter is about to turn 16 and her goal is a car, right? So
Yeah.
once when you have a goal, then it makes it a little bit easier, not all the time, but it usually
Right.
makes it a little bit easier to forego the instant gratification because you
Right.
say, this is what I'm planning for. So even if your goal is to go to college debt free, right?
Right.
Then okay, then investing in the stock market at 10, 11, 12, 13, you want to do it because you have the goal in 4, 5, 6 years. That's when I'm going to need to, you know, be seeing whatever dividends or what have you.
Right, right. So definitely, when you have the goal, it kind of creates a target for you
Yes.
to aim for, and
Hmm.
just like again, just like putting a plan together that keeps you focused on what you're trying to accomplish. So, and if everything is not in alignment with that goal, you gotta kind of put it to the side,
Hmm.
right? Okay. So nowadays we see a lot of children interested in entrepreneurship, right? What do you think is the motivation for young people wanting to pursue that route, as far as wanting to be business owners and working for themselves?
So, all right, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here.
Okay.
Honestly, Kerwin, I think young people don't want to end up like their parents.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I think they see the struggle that their parents go through of getting up every day, right? Going to a job, complaining, right? I hate
Mhm.
this job, but I got to pay these bills. So I'm going to go, right?
Right.
Or, I asked my boss off so I could, do whatever. And they want to give me problems about, like, they hear that and they're just like, I, I don't really want that, right?
Right.
Or they see the other pendulum swing of going to a job and they see the parents went faithfully every day, bad weather, holidays, miss their kids, soccer games or what have you,
Hmm.
only to one day get fired just like that,
Wow.
right? And
Yeah.
see the decline of their parents' attitude, right?
Right.
Positivity, optimism. They may have seen the financial ripple effects within the family as a result of that job loss. And I think a lot of that is contributing to them saying, why would I want to willingly jump into that if I have another option?
Right. Yeah. So I think, they just want to have the destiny, I guess, control their own destiny and not put in
Yes.
someone else's hands.
Yes.
No.
And also, what I've noticed is, I don't know if I want to say a lot of young people, but there are several young people that have not gotten caught up in consumption.
Okay.
Some adults are, right? So their mentality is, I don't need the 4 or 5 bedroom house, right?
Right.
There's a lot of young people out there like, I live in a van. Right? I'll room with 4 other friends and have an air mattress just to have the freedom to do what they want to do, to not be bogged down by all these other expenses, right? I'll just pay for an Uber when I have to go somewhere, then go buy a car.
Yes.
And have the car note and the car insurance and pay for the maintenance. So again, it's the mentality is a bit different than I think it was definitely for when, I was coming up, or when even my parents were coming up.
Yeah. And I think, when we look at the way the economy is now,
Mhm.
they say like, just getting an Uber when you need it, or just eating out as opposed to cooking is actually cheaper than buying groceries and cooking and things of that sort. Because you look at the price of food and stuff now, it's kind of ridiculous. Talking recently about the price of eggs, it's pretty crazy. I think they may cancel Easter this year. There's no Easter
They
eggs.
just may have to do that. We're gonna have painted rocks this year, is what they.
Yeah. Exactly. Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens, is an excellent resource to get your children started on understanding the basics of financial literacy. This book, which is set in Brownville, Brooklyn, about a young man who gets his first job and then shortly thereafter sits down with his dad to learn how to manage his money. There are several topics that are covered within this work, such as paying yourself first, disciplining your spending, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, creating multiple sources of income, as well as the importance of being charitable. So again, if you want to get your children started on understanding finance and becoming responsible adults, we highly recommend that you purchase the book, Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens. So please visit maliksfirstjob.com to get more information. Peace. Peace. What's going on? This is Kerwin Phillip from the Malik's First Job Podcast. Just a quick reminder, hit that subscribe button below and that notification bell. That way you never miss an episode when it drops. All right? Thank you all for supporting, and let's jump back into the conversation. Peace. So now we see, like I guess, in the current world that we're in and the world that's to come, we see a lot of technology coming about, right? A lot of automation, right? We see the McDonald's down in Texas with the with the robots and things there, and in certain restaurants they have the robots in the kitchen cooking the burgers, doing the fries, and I believe here in Richmond, one of the Mexican restaurants, they have a robot server that brings the food out, right?
Wow.
To the to the diners.
Mhm.
Now, do you think that has what impact do you think that would have in our children wanting to pursue, other routes than just regular employment?
Sure. So I think a benefit for them is, because things are changing so fast, and just because of the time that teens were born into, it's more, they have a much more open mind, like, oh, let me try that. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Versus, even my coming up, when I look at the length of time between, when they just had the radio for entertainment. And then they started moving to TV, and people were like, no, I like my radio, right? And then they moved to color TV, right? And then they moved to VHS, and then CDs. Like, it was just such a long period of time. The time was getting shorter between each iteration, but
Right.
our young people today is just moving so much faster.
Right.
Also, it allows, I think, for them to use their creativity and imagination, right? So for those young people who just wanted to play video games for hours,
Hmm.
right? So for growing up, for me, my parents were not about that, right?
Right.
You
Right.
play a little bit and then you get to the books. But them wanting to play and play and play. And now here in colleges, you have esports, which is a recognized sport, right?
Right.
We're giving scholarships
Oh
for
wow.
kids, yes, to come
Can't
to
beat that.
universities and be a part of their particular team. So just like things are shifting.
Right.
So I think those who succeed will be those who can think ahead of how to use the technology, not see it as a replacement,
Okay.
not a either or, but a both and. And it reminds me of the movie Hidden Figures,
Okay.
right? And when so you had the women who worked, and they were the typist and did all the calculations, right?
Right.
And then here comes big old IBM.
Right.
And what did the one, I can't remember what her name was in the movie, but she went to the library to get a book to see, okay, so how do you work that?
Right.
Because they're still going to need us, right? Because you still need somebody who knows a little something of what's going on. So how do we work that so then we're still um, relatable, right? We're
Right.
still needed. We're still,
Irrelevant.
yeah, relevant. Thank you. That's
Irrelevant.
what I was thinking. So I
Right.
think I think that's going to be key to figure out how can you use it. I'll give you an example. So
Okay.
we have a pressure cooker.
Hmm.
I bought my husband a pressure cooker, and we were starting to air fry a lot more things, right? Health reasons. And so I was asking him, I said, one day you'll have to show me, how to do it. Cause right now
Right.
he does it. And he's like, oh, you just do this, you do that. And then you set it to the temperature. And I said, well, how do you know what temperature to set it to? He said, oh, well, you would have to know how to cook to do that. It struck me though, because it's like, here's this great piece of equipment, but there still has to be a basic knowledge of something, right? So you can't just replace. You
Right.
still There's still something you're going to have to learn in order to use it properly. Otherwise you can still burn food in it.
Exactly.
In the air pressure,
Exactly.
you're not doing it, and yeah, in the pressure cooker rather, if you're not doing it correctly.
Right. 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 Yeah. So because I guess with all the conversation about like Chat, GTP, and things of that, people wonder, people worrying the fact that okay, it's going to help kids cheat, like in school and things of that sort. It's going to take away jobs. I know I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and he was saying like within that same software, that same program, it writes codes,
Mhm.
right? So those people who are used to coding, they may be replaced. So it's like it kind of makes them have to shift their mind state, and build a different skill set for what's to come in the future.
Mhm.
So
And even with that, you would still need to know what the code looks like,
right, make
right?
sure it's
To
correct.
be able to verify, right, that ChatGPT isn't giving you a wrong code. And so it's funny you mentioned in terms of the concern of students cheating. Uh, I see it as an opportunity.
Okay.
So I really value soft skills.
Hmm.
Right? I call them essential skills, but I really, really value soft skills. And I see this as an opportunity for students to grow more in their soft skills.
Okay.
So by that, I mean, we take away just giving an assignment here, write a paper. No,
Right.
now it's okay, come up with a thesis statement, right? And we're
Mhm.
going to spend 30 minutes of class time. Each person has 5 minutes to expound on their thesis statement.
Okay.
So even if you go into Chat GPT and get your thesis statement, you're still going to have to, right,
Right.
give us something. But I think that might be even a better way to really, for a student to show their knowledge of something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 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 You still got, again, as you mentioned earlier, there still has to be some type of foundation
Yes.
for you to be able to expound upon.
Yes. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyone could say their ABCs, but can you spell?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Correct. Correct. So let's talk about your I guess your podcast, the Team Biz Talk. What kind of led you to want to start the podcast?
Sure. So I was coming across all these amazing teenagers that were doing amazing things. And I just wanted a way to showcase them. I didn't really see where, yeah, where there was a platform where they were being showcased. Maybe there was one, I just hadn't come across it.
Okay.
And I just enjoyed talking with them. And it
Right.
just gave me a glimpse into what they were doing, where they were thinking, right? Where they were thinking the world was going, what they were doing in preparation for that, different ways they were using their skills and talents, and yet things that they would like to learn.
Right.
There was also conversation about that. Several of them were like, "Yeah, my mom takes care of the money part for right now." Right. But
Right.
one day I want to learn. So it's like, okay, they still have that motivation. There was one teenager, oh, he has a cookie company. And it struck me because at the time that I interviewed him, he was accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Oh wow.
And I was just like, tell me more, right? So here we
Right.
are. I believe he was 15 at the time,
Okay.
forward thinking, right?
Right.
In this point. And so yeah, that's what led me to that. Just an opportunity to be able to showcase them and then to learn more about what it is they're doing.
Yeah. It's great to have a platform where
Mhm.
they can promote their products and services.
Yeah.
Right. So so from all your work that you've done with youth entrepreneurs and the mentoring and the workshops, what are like some of like if you want to give like 5 to 6 tips that you would give to a youth entrepreneur to help them get to the next level in business, what would you say?
Sure. So I would say if there's something that you want to try, try it. Right
Okay.
now is the time while you're a teen, while you don't have a mortgage, while you don't have a car payment, while you don't, have all these bills. Now is the time to try it. So if you have an idea, right, you want to accept payment for your cookies and Bitcoin, try it. Right.
Right.
What's the best that can happen? Sky's the
Right.
limit, right? So
Yeah.
that is one thing. Another thing that I would say is collaborate, right? Figure out a way to get around other um, young entrepreneurs.
Right.
They don't have to be doing the same thing as you. If someone is a baker, it doesn't have to be another baker, but just
Right.
figure out a way to be able to bounce things off of each other, right? To be able to have a place of encouragement, because being a teen can be really tough, just
Right.
a really tough time in life. So if you can have that kind of tribe to cheer you on, I think that would
Okay.
be good. Um, read,
Oh.
read. And I know some young people might, I don't like to read it. Find something
Right.
that interests you and read. I promise you, it will expand your mind,
Right.
it will expand your imagination, and it will keep life interesting. There's so
Right.
many great books out there.
Right.
Another thing, what's that? Three. Another thing that I would say is learn about business. Some of the words might seem foreign, some of the
Right.
terms, but take the time to learn about financial statements. Right?
Right.
Learn about a balance sheet. You don't have to know it, the details, but at least know the basics. Know what's an asset, know what's
Right.
a liability, know what's an expense, know what's a fixed expense versus a variable expense in your business. So
Right.
get that type of business education. And then what would be my last thing? Make sure you're having fun.
I think
Make
that's most
sure,
important.
make sure you have something in your life where you can have fun. So if you have school over here and then you have your baking business, then I don't know, make sure like join a bowling team. You know what I mean? Just have that something else where you can just have fun, where you don't have those same expectations as you do in school and maybe for your business. Yeah.
Right, right. I think as you said, having fun is the most important because if the child doesn't see it as fun, then they'll quickly lose interest
Right.
in doing it. Right. Okay, cool. So for people that want to connect with you, um, outside of this interview, where can they find you?
They can find me. I'm on TikTok at Teens Biz Talk, on
Okay.
Instagram at Teens Biz Talk, and that's an S on Teens and then BIZ for the talk. I am also on YouTube. You can see the video portion of the podcast,
Okay.
Teens Biz Talk. Also on Instagram, you can also find me at The Empowering Educator. And so
Okay.
that feeds the big part of my business. So the podcast is a part of it, but
Right.
the large business part, I go into more financial terms, things going on for the month of February. I'm going to focus on banking,
Okay.
the banking system, a checking account, savings account, a business account. Um, yeah, just all things banking. I've been getting quite a few questions around what's a debit card, what's a credit card. So yeah, February is going to be focused on banking.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up for today?
Hmm. A song that I have enjoyed for years and years and years by the very great Whitney Houston. And the words are, I believe the children are our future.
Right.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. And I really use that as a kind of sounding board in my mind when I'm
Right.
doing things or thinking about things or planning things for the
Yes.
teams.
That's beautiful. I think that's the a beautiful lyric that's really on point, right? Because they really are the future. They'll be taking over one day, and we gotta, they'll be taking care of us.
Yeah.
So
Yes, right?
definitely, definitely. All right. So again, thank you for taking some time and speaking with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. So again, please connect with Tara. She's on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Teens Biz Talk, and also check out her podcast, the Teens Biz Talk on YouTube. Right. So thanks again, and thank you all for joining us today on the Malik's First Job podcast. And I'll see you all next week. Take care.
Generational wealth.